Never mind that. What was that?
Hi!
Who are you?
BARFF!
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
Nah, that's my name. BARFF!
BARFF? What are you?
And here we go. BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Season 4, Episode 5. Here we are back in the new studio. And joining me tonight from 2,000 miles away, our special guest host of the night, Jordan is here, owner of the Soarin Eagles. I don't know, it changes all the time. Good to have you in the studio tonight.
Thanks for having me, Kamish. Great to be here.
All right, let's jump in and start talking about last week. Last week, as many weeks are, there were some very strong performances, and there was a lot of heartache. So I'm going to jump in, see if I can't get this to go up on the board. Tell me where you want to start while I'm doing that.
You know, we can start right where it hits home. We can start with Eagles versus Moppers is the first I got on my screen here.
Eagles versus Moppers. This is a little bit of heartache for you, and a really strong performance from the Whopper Moppers, including two players that just went absolutely insane. Tell us about this game.
If you count 11 guys on a defense, which seems a little unfair.
Tell us about this game that you had to suffer through.
Yeah, this was a heartbreaking game for me. You know, seeing 72 points left on my bench. It's really a tough one. There's some tough lineup decisions to make this week, which, you know, we talk about is not the worst thing in the world, not the worst problem to have. But you know, when you make the wrong decisions, it can really crush you. It adds an extra layer to the game that sometimes you don't need to worry about.
It absolutely can. As fate would have it, joining us right at this moment, your opponent from last week and owner of Whopper Moppers, Tommy's on the line. Tommy, how are you tonight?
Kamish, how's it going? Gort, how's it going?
How you doing, Tom?
Oh, it feels good to be on the podcast.
It's great to hear you here in Season 4, and we're talking about your game last week. Really strong performance from Whopper Moppers. Two players combining for, correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, 78 points? More than that, maybe?
More than that.
Yeah. So
much more than that. Almost 100.
That's insane.
Or actually, might be more than 100.
So, Tom, tell me your feelings as this game took place last week.
Yeah, last week was it was kind of a barn burner up until when was it? I think until Dallas's D decided to go off again for another. Would they end up with like 20-something points or whatever?
27.
But, I mean, yeah, 27. But 40 from AJ Brown, 38 from Diggs. What? That's 80 points right there.
Crazy.
That's tough to overcome. Then another 27 from your defense. So felt good to get another win under the belt. That's for sure.
Yeah, wins are at a premium in BARFF, and you know you're looking. We were talking last week. You're looking for that. You're looking for that magic 7th win, and you're well on your way. Tied for top of the BARFF standings right now. Jordan. Let's talk about the other side of the ball, as this is finally coming up for me. You followed it 2-2. You had a great performance from Josh Allen, far exceeding his projections. But then the wheels came off. You had picked up Tutu Atwell, and then let's talk about Aaron Jones also.
Aaron Jones. What can we say about Aaron Jones? You know, they clearly love A.J. Dillon out there in Green Bay. I really think the difference in that game was Aaron Jones came in. They ran an option play. Jordan Love wasn't having a great night already, but he started kind of wandering over to the outside, had the option to Aaron Jones. Flipped it to him at the last second and ended up causing Aaron Jones to get flipped. And at that point, I was even screaming, take Aaron Jones out of this game. Because, you know, I wanted him this week, but I need him for the rest of the season.
True. Yeah, you get a player killed doing that. Tom, was there any point during this week that you felt that this game was not in hand?
Yeah, honestly, for most of it. It kept going back and forth. Someone would get a lot of points, and then it was a really killer at the end. A.J. Brown got a touchdown late in that game. That got him like an extra 11 points or something, and that's when I felt pretty good about it. And then Dallas's D going off again obviously kind of sealed the cap on it.
Dallas's D certainly seems to be a weapon.
Yeah.
This year for sure.
Averaging 20. I think they're averaging around 20 points a game, which is kind of
that's insane.
That's kind of insane.
You don't even really need to start a quarterback when you're getting 20-something points from your defense. That's insane.
Right.
So, Tom, you're sitting on top of the BARFF standings as we pass 4 games heading into Week 5. Feeling good about your team this year?
Yeah, I mean, Kirk's been obviously Burrow's gotten the bench the past couple of weeks, but I've thrown Kirk in there and he's done okay, minus this past week. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still a little worried about the running back. I have no running back depth, so I'm kind of praying that those guys either don't get hurt or don't end up becoming the second running backs on their team. So
No, Tom, don't worry. Alexander Madison is a very serviceable RB1.
yeah, he's had 2 good back-to-back weeks, 99 or I think 95 yards and then like 99. He just gets no catches and no touchdowns. It definitely hurts, but
No catches hurts the running. We all want those guys catching the ball out of the backfield, and they're getting to be few and far between to find. Travis Etienne, Tom, a disappointment for you this to this point, or are you happy with the production you're getting out of him?
I'd say he's definitely been a little bit of a disappointment. I think he's ranked like the 15th, 16th running back. Jacksonville's whole offense has just kind of been a mess. They haven't been scoring points, Lawrence, all of them. So, I mean, hopefully they'll get things going. But I think they have another tough matchup this week against Buffalo, so might not be the week.
Right, that's hard. Jordan, he's got Burrow on the bench. Cincinnati's offense, we just talked about Jacksonville. Any hope for Cincinnati's offense?
I mean, there's obviously hope for Cincinnati's offense when you look at the past, but I think it's one of those things where until you see it, you got to leave him on the bench, Burrow and Higgins, depending on how Higgins does with his injury. Yeah,
T. Higgins has been, Tom, I got to say, from the outside looking in, that's painful to see every week that T. Higgins is putting up these single-digit numbers. That's not what you expected.
Yeah, no, he's been tough. He had that one, I think, week 2, he put up like 28 or whatever, but other than that, he's been just a couple points here and there. So hopefully that offense gets rolling, but I think those guys are staying on the bench until I see something. But Higgins has fractured ribs, so I think he's going to be out a little bit anyway. So
boy, that's not great. We also have on the chat, Kuz is weighing in, simply Tom with many exclamation points. Your fans are here, Tom.
I can pronounce that one for you. Kuz over there is saying, Tom!
He's probably sitting on the couch right now.
I love it. Jordan, what game you want to talk about next?
Let's move on. Let's see. What's the next game on my list here? Next game I got is... Let's see. Huey Lewis versus worst team ever. This is a great one to talk about.
Huey Lewis in the news takes on worst team ever. Worst team ever pulling into this game at 3-0, perfect record, and they fall to Huey Lewis in the news 133 to 126 in our shootout of the week. These teams deserve the graphic, but they're not going to get it because this broadcast is a fragile house of cards right now. But Jordan, what was the key to the game this week?
The key to the game really was just Huey's guys having a good week, and I'll say this: Puka Nacua. I can't believe I'm saying that name when I'm talking about the biggest factors in this game, but it's Puka Nacua, and it has been Puka Nacua this year for Huey.
Yep, Tom, I think that the 2 biggest free agent pickups this year to date have been facing each other in this game: Kyron Williams for worst team ever and Puka Nacua for Huey Lewis in the news. Which do you see as the better pickup this year so far?
I mean, right now, I think you can't go wrong with Puka Nacua. I think after a couple games or whatever, I think he might have had the most catches by a rookie ever in his first 2 games, and I thought he was going to drop off, but it seems like he just keeps going. But I saw what's his name? Cup practice today, so
Yep,
maybe once he's back, he takes a little bit of a step back. But
so
2 really nice pickups by worst team ever and Huey Lewis.
They are. These 2 young receivers, Tutu Atwell, who disappointed you this week, Jordan, and Puka Nacua. Does Cooper Kupp coming back, do we see a dramatic decrease, or are they going to try to keep all these guys fed?
I don't think so. I think you look at the situation like Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp from a few years back. Stafford looks good. The Rams look good. They don't look good enough that they're not going to be in close games, and they're going to have to lean on the run. They're going to keep passing. And everyone's going to keep getting chances. So unless Puka sees a drop-off in his performance, his personal performance, I think he's going to keep getting opportunities and keep putting points up.
Nice. Well, Huey Lewis certainly hopes so. What did I do? This is not good. They certainly went in with, again, Josh Jacobs rises up this week, but the running backs, Gibbs and Connor, combined for 15 points. We've been saying it. They're getting it done without getting a lot of production from that RB position. They get it out of Josh Jacobs this week, but not a lot of support down the lineup outside of Puka Nacua. On the other side of the ball, worst team ever gets single points from two of the players in the lineup. That's not going to do it. That's not going to do the job. Daniel Jones lets him down and leaves some points on the bench. So better things ahead for worst team ever. But they now have to share that top spot with you, Tom, at 3-1.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
I love it. Huey Lewis pulls in at 2-2 after this game. Jordan, who's next?
Let's see. Next on the list, I got Born to Run versus the Springfield Rifle.
Born to Run, struggling to get anything going. 98-14, they fall to the Springfield Rifle. Springfield Rifle and Born to Run each. Springfield Rifle goes to 2-2. Born to Run falls to 1-3. Tom, when you looked at this game between the Springfield Rifle and Born to Run, what did you see as the key to the victory for Springfield Rifle this week?
Rifle just kind of had a lot of decent points from a lot of different guys, and then on the other side of the ball, I mean, Cooper only 2 points, Ridley 8, Pollard 8, and then Ridley 11. So I think Ridley's got to get going, or Born to Run might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, Born to Run. They're great co-hosts of the show. They admitted last week that Calvin Ridley was a real important part of their draft strategy, and he's let them down so far. Jordan.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley, I think after the first game of the season, everybody had the same reaction where they were like, man, I wish I got Calvin Ridley in the draft. And now I don't think anyone's saying that. It's tough where he went. You had to take him early, and he's not giving you that top 10 wide receiver numbers that you needed from him when you drafted him.
Exactly right. Coos is he's admitting he's comfortable. He's making grilled cheese and chicken noodle soup right now, so that's good. It's nice for the fans to weigh in and let us know where they're at while they're watching the BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Tom, Springfield Rifle puts in Miles Sanders. He gets 5 points. Derrick Henry sits on the bench with 25. A strategy behind that insertion of Miles Sanders for Derrick Henry?
Yeah, no, I know Henry hasn't been, the best this year, but I feel like putting Miles Sanders in over Henry is a little bit of stretch. You're banking on a lot, but hopefully the Rifles goes back to Henry this week, because I feel like Henry always has the chance to go off for 40 points. Miles Sanders, his ceiling's probably more like 10, 15 points, but
I feel that the Rifle might have sent some sort of screenshot to Derrick Henry, letting him know, hey, I started Miles Sanders over you, and that might have motivated him to a 25-point day. Jordan, Devon Achane. Is this sustainable?
When I saw that the Rifle put in such a high waiver bid on Devon Achane actually is how he likes it pronounced. I just thought there's no way he could keep it up. It struck me as when you're playing the bad team in like a high school sport, and you let the backups go in and they still do good, and you're like, wow, we were that much better than the other team. But then a Chan comes out and he does it again. He puts 27 up. I think he had 52 the week before that, so he's put up 79 points in 2 weeks.
That's insane. This is another. This player bounced around a couple of lineups. He was drafted by the Beans originally. That's gotta hurt to hear to have that brought up for the Beans, but. And he kicked around. I think he hit another roster and got dropped, and now he just can't stop scoring points. That it was breaking my heart that they go to him inside the 10 rather than Mostert, and he puts up another huge week. Where are we going now?
Next on the list is Boston Beans versus Sody Pantloads, one that came down to the wire.
And the Boston Beans pull it out. Both teams now at 2-2 after a 120-109 victory by the Boston Beans. What was the deciding factor in the game this week?
Christian McCaffrey.
That's
your answer.
49 fantasy points. When you get 49 points, you can get a -4 from your D. It doesn't matter what many other players do. You're winning this game.
Exactly.
Tom, when you look at the running back situation this week for Sody Pantloads, do you have concern with Rashad White and Zach Moss?
Yeah, I think there definitely is a little bit of concern there. I think he's weighing a lot of his team on those two guys, so hopefully they can get going. I know they've been kind of mediocre so far. Moss had a couple good weeks, but after this week, I'd say it's a little concerning, but hopefully with Higgins out, Jamar Chase gets going for him, and then I think he'll be fine with Metcalf and Hawkinson. So I think Sody Pantloads is in an okay spot.
Yeah, when you look at this performance, you had a couple people in single digits as normal. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't really a great blow-up day for Sody Pantloads. Lamar Jackson had a really nice day, and outside of that is pretty vanilla all the way down. So better things ahead right now. Both teams sitting in a good place at 2-2. And that leaves us... Does that leave us with the one game left?
Knuckleheads versus no lineup.
Knuckleheads limp their way to an 86-90 loss. No lineup scores 90 points and wins. They're really happy to do that because 1-3. We talked about this on the podcast last week. Tom, 1-3 is so much better than 0-4.
Yeah, definitely. If you're 0-4, you're digging yourself out of a big hole. But as long as you get that first win under your belt, hopefully it's up from there for no lineup needed.
Absolutely. Jordan, the key to no lineups victory this week.
Yeah, I hate to keep picking on the highest scorer, but I'll tell you what, DJ Moore, he's got 28 points this week. He's had double digits in the past 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields looking like he can throw a football.
Uh-huh.
Not great.
Which was in question.
Not great, but he can throw it.
He can.
And, DJ Moore's the guy they're throwing at. There's nobody. DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, somehow both getting fantasy production. Denver, obviously, weak defense, as we saw, versus Miami. Yeah. But, that 28 from DJ Moore, those are the kind of weeks that you need from a guy like that to keep picking up victories.
Yeah, Cole Kmet was a surprise. He put up 27, I think. The Rifle had him on the bench because the Rifle has Kittle. Mm-hmm. And you're not starting Kmet over Kittle, so that's just a heartbreaker. I thought CeeDee Lamb would go for more, to be honest with you, against the Patriots. And then the Knuckleheads, down the bottom of the lineup, everyone's in single digits, and you're not going to win that way. Most of the team is in single digits. Mix in with the Cincinnati offense, terrible. Mostert watched Devon Chan blow up while he did very little. So I'm hoping that Saquon comes back and can provide a little spark. Waller seems to be a 0 because they don't throw to him. I don't understand that at all. I needed 15 points on Monday night, Tom. 15 points between two players, and I would have had a victory. And I can't get 15 out of two players on a Monday night.
I really thought you were going to pull it off.
I did too.
You had Waller and Gano going?
I had Waller and Gano, yeah.
Yeah, Waller's been a disappointment so far.
Gross.
But they haven't even been looking his way, which is crazy.
Understand it. I simply don't understand it, but they don't need to explain anything to me, and so I don't imagine they will. But darn it, they really should. So
not much you can do with 3 points if you're trying to get points from some offensive players.
It's terrible.
You got to put more than 3 on the board.
You do. You definitely do. And so that's week 4 now. We've got a good chunk of the season down. We've got 2 teams sitting at 3-1. And, we've got a glut of teams in the middle, and we're looking for separation as we head into these next 4 weeks. But as you look at how your teams go, everyone's agonizing over things. Everyone today today and yesterday are looking at what is available on the waiver exchange, etc. And so you guys tune in. For those that do tune in, you should tune in to the BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. You're agonizing over your team, and you get our opinion. Certainly, we offer our take on your teams, but sometimes it's nice to have that other perspective. What are other people thinking of your team? And so this week we have an opportunity for everyone to figure that out in a little segment as we get the opinion of not an unbiased third party, but a third party. A little segment that we like to call the Gort Report.
Welcome everyone to the Gort Report. I have some extensive notes written down, and we're 4 weeks into the season, and I think it's time to give some grades out. You might not agree, but you know what you do when you get a bad grade? You study up, you work hard, and you come back and improve your performance. So we're going to go in order of the standings. I'm going to do 2 grades for each team that will average out to an overall grade, A to F. You're going to get a grade on your draft and what that's looking like now, and then you're going to get a grade on your in-season management. As I said, if you have any complaints, leave them at the door. I'm not taking them. So we're going to start with worst team ever. Worst team ever sitting at the top of the leaderboard at 3-1. Been one of the hardest teams to play against this year. So let's dive a little deeper into how their draft went. For draft, worst team ever gets a B. They have some really good surprises. Look at Kenneth Walker. He is the RB5 in this league, drafted in the 6th round. Romeo Dubes is the wide receiver 16, drafted in the 13th round. So worst team ever was able to pull out some steals, but for the most part, the guys they drafted are performing as you would expect. Nobody's really floundering, so that's why overall they get a B. A little bit of lack of RB depth and kind of missing out on the quarterback train there. For in-season management, though, worst team ever gets an A. They add Kyron Williams off of waivers, I think week 1. Turns out to be one of the best additions. I believe he's in the top 10 running backs this year, if not the top 5. They got Adam Thielen off of waivers, who is starting on their team. And they got Tony Pollard in a recent trade with Born to Run. And I think Tony Pollard's a great guy to have. He really rounds out that running back depth, and especially as we go into bye weeks, those are some of the reasons that worst team ever gets an A on in-season management for an overall grade of A- for worst team ever. Moving on. Tom, it's your turn. Whopper Moppers. Second team we're going to look at. We're going to look at your draft, Tom. Draft, I gave you an A. You stole Kirk Cousins in the 16th round. He is the 3rd best quarterback in the league currently. You got some great wide receivers performing as you would expect them to. Diggs and A.J. Brown. Brandon Ayuk is currently performing as the wide receiver 14, and I believe he missed a game due to injury. And you got him in the 8th round. You got the Cowboys D late. But there is one bad spot, one reach you had. T. Higgins is the wide receiver 50, and you grabbed him in the 3rd round. And that's not really what you want from a guy you grabbed in the 3rd round. And now he's hurt, so that's going to hurt. But you get an A on the draft for some of those great steals, including Kirk Cousins. For in-season management, you get a C. You got no notable moves. For a while, I thought that Ty was the one who was freezing and not making moves. But Tom, you're not making many moves. You overspent on Kendrick Bourne and Tyler Algier. They're sitting on your bench right now. You got Hunter Henry for free, which will give you points on. And you spent $16 on a kicker on your fab for Jake Moody. So you better hope he starts putting up Jake Elliott numbers. But overall, Tom, you get a B. And that's a good grade in this Gort Report.
I'll take the B.
All right. B is a good grade.
Hold on, I don't have a B. that says B-, but it's supposed to be a B.
We round up. Moving on, the Springfield Rifle. Actually, one of my favorite teams as I was doing this grades. We're going to give the Springfield Rifle an A- in the draft. They kind of went no QB, similar to Tom, or actually similar to Ty. Sorry, Tom, you got Kirk Cousins. Similar to Ty, they got some great steals. We'll start with Isaiah Pacheco. He's your running back 12, drafted in the 8th round. Cole Kmet, he's your number 3 tight end, drafted in the 12th round. And Keenan Allen is your number 2 wide receiver, stolen in the 4th round. And just those are the kind of picks you need to make. The reason that's an A- and not an A, we got Kittle as the tight end 13, taken in the 5th round. That's really early to take a guy who's performing as a middle-of-the-road tight end. So we got an A- for draft for the Rifle. For in-season management, we'll give them a B+. They were able to get Love and Stafford for, I think, $1 and $3 worth of FOB combined. Those are 2 great serviceable quarterbacks in this league so far. They picked up Devon Achane, as we talked about, who has 79 points. Achane.
Yes.
79 points in 2 games. So, he's making the proper moves. He's adding people that are starting in his starting lineup, and those are the waiver wins you need. So we got a B+ for in-season management, leading to an overall grade of A- for the Springfield Rifle. Moving on, and I will try not to be biased, but next team we're looking at is the Soarin Eagles. And I think you'll think that I was very fair on this one. For draft for the Soarin Eagles, we're going to grab an A-. Tyreek Hill, performing as a first-round wide receiver should. David Montgomery is your 9th-ranked running back, drafted in the 8th round. Tua Tagovailoa, Donnie, as they call him, is the QB4, drafted in the 12th round. DeAndre Swift is the RB9, tied with Montgomery, drafted in the 10th round. Nico Collins is your wide receiver 7, drafted in the 13th round. The only blemish in that draft, actually two blemishes, 49ers defense, taken in the 11th round, is currently your 12th ranked defense. And Dallas Goedert is currently the 30th ranked tight end, taken in the 7th round. But overall, with those great running back steals and Nico Collins and Tua Donnie Tagovailoa, we get an A- for the draft for the Soarin Eagles. Looking at in-season management, we're going to give the Eagles a D+, because I'm a mental midget. We'll start with the positives. Picked up Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson is going to fill in for Dallas Goedert. He's looking great. They love him over there in Dallas. But, we probably overspent on Josh Palmer, losing $41 of our fab. And you just have made terrible lineup decisions. That's part of in-season management. You got to put the right guys in your starting lineup when it starts. So the Eagles get a B- for their overall grade.
B-. Tom, what do you think about that B-? I mean, this guy's given himself a D something for in-season management, and we average it out to B-. This is some kind of participation trophy.
Do the math. A- plus D+ equals B-.
Does that equal B-?
That equals B-. Look it up.
Okay, that's fair.
Put it in a calculator.
If I can interject from off screen here, we're getting a little bit of our one participant in the chat tonight. Kuz was talking about how lucky the pant loads are. They're looking for Sox fan. Sox fan is nowhere to be found. There are some owners conspicuously absent. I think 2 of them are on the beach right now.
Sox fan ran away to New York City to look for a long-lost love, John Mayer, I heard.
Oh, so Sodi did. We don't know where Sox fan is.
They might be together.
All right, who's next?
Moving on is Knuckleheads.
Oh, God.
Knuckleheads, for the draft, we're giving you a B. You got Justin Herbert, the QB1 in the 6th round. You got a kind of a blemish with Darren Waller. He's the 12th ranked tight end, taken in the 5th round. Not where you want to waste a 5th round pick.
No.
Another blemish, you got Drake London. He's the 52nd ranked wide receiver,
With the
taken in the
number
7th.
1 wide receiver on the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I'm the number 1 wide receiver on the Soarin Eagles also. Joe Mixon, the RB21, drafted in the 4th round. Raheem Mostert, bright spot, although not last week, but he's your RB2 on the year, drafted in the 13th round. Those are the kind of steals that get you a B. Looking at in-season management, we got a C+. You're not doing much.
Hey, you get a good draft. You don't have to do too much.
Yeah, you do. You got to work the waiver wire in this league. This is not a taco league. You got to be making moves, so you're getting a C+ on that for an overall grade, tied with the Eagles, B-.
B- for the Knuckleheads. You know what? I'm pretty happy about it.
Moving into some tougher grades as we get down to the bottom half of the leaderboard. Sody Pant Loads. Sox fan is their biggest supporter, and they seem to be absent. I think they knew what the grades were going to be coming into this.
Oh, boy.
Sody Pant Loads will start with the draft. We give them a C- on the draft. Their 1st round pick is Jamar Chase. He's currently your wide receiver 17. Their 2nd round pick was Garrett Wilson, is currently your wide receiver 24. And Cam Akers, drafted in the 7th round, is currently your running back 54. For the first seven rounds to waste 3 picks on that kind of performance is not something that's easy to come back from. I will say a bright spot, TJ Hawkinson, taken in the 5th round, is your tight end 1 on the year. Does not look like stopping either.
Tom, how did you not get TJ Hawkinson?
I know, that's my guy. I should have taken him in the 3rd round over Higgins, but next year.
Moving on to the in-season management, we're going to give Sody Pant Loads a C+. That might change after this week because the biggest bright spot for the in-season management for the Pant Loads is Zach Moss. Although, if you look at ESPN right now, you'll see an 11 next to the projected for Jonathan Taylor. So it looks like he's playing next week.
Ooh, Jonathan Taylor.
I'm sure we'll get into that as we look at the matchups. But currently, Zach Moss has been an amazing pickup for the Pant Loads. And overall, you just look at a team and you look at the draft they had and you see they're 2-2 and you think, they've made some good decisions this year. They haven't overthought it. They've put their guys in. They've gotten the points that they need to, regardless of the draft. So they lie at a C+, giving the Pantloads a C overall.
C for Sody Pantloads.
Moving on to the Boston Beans. The Beans, C- in the draft.
Ooh.
You got Hurts is currently the QB7 on the year, which isn't terrible, but you took him in the 3rd round. And there's some guys available in the 3rd round that really might be helping you out more. We got a bright spot. We got Brian Robinson is currently your RB9 on the year. He was taken in the 10th round. Mike Evans is the wide receiver 9 on the year, taken in the 5th round. But then Evan Ingram even is the tight end 5 on the year, taken in the 9th round. But we look at Najee Harris, running back 33, taken in the 4th round. And Justin Tucker is the 26th ranked kicker out of 30 kickers, because each team only needs one, and he was taken in the 11th round, which is a little bit of a reach.
11th round.
But moving on to in-season management, it gets even worse. The Boston Beans get a D+ on in-season management. They spent $120 of their fab combined on Kareem Hunt and Matt Breida, who are not doing well. I don't know if Kareem Hunt will have a job in a couple weeks. Jerome Ford seems like the guy. Those seems to be decisions that were wrought with panic. And I always say, when you're having a tough start to the year, you got to make bold decisions. But those bold decisions don't always work out for you. Also, this Hollywood Brown trade for Michael Thomas and Jaylen Warren, I don't like it. I don't think Jaylen Warren sees his way into the Beans lineup this year, and I think Hollywood Brown has more upside than Michael Thomas. So I think that's a loss on the Beans for an overall grade of D+.
Whoa, D+
on the Beans. You got to get that up, or else you're not going to be able to play football this year.
D+. And to add insult to injury, I have to lay the Beans name over the other team because we're having production difficulties. Hey, you want to get your own graphic? Yeah, do better than D+. Hold on, let me check and see how Coos feels about that. Let's check this out. No,
eat me.
Coos is not happy about your treatment of the Beans, sir.
I'd eat you if your team looked tastier. This is an interesting one coming up next. We got Huey Lewis and the News. We will start with the draft, which I think everyone can guess isn't going to be the best score in the world. We're giving them a D+ on the draft. You have Breece Hall, drafted in the 4th round, is the 33 ranked running back in the league. Jahmyr Gibbs, drafted in the 5th round, is the 25th ranked running back in the league. Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp were both drafted high, and they haven't played a game all season.
This is not good luck.
And we're not talking about the future with these grades, we're talking about what's happened.
True.
In-season management, though, the Huey Lewis and the News get an A+.
Absolutely.
Puka Nacua is the waiver wire pick of the year. He's the wide receiver 5, consistent, and only $63 a fob, which after the Nick Chubb injury and after Devon Achane actually isn't that expensive for a guy that you're going to slot into your lineup and every week is going to produce big numbers for you.
Understood, and it's less than Jerome Ford cost.
Mm-hmm. He also, I think, made a really good trade here. He got Hollywood Brown for Michael Thomas and Jaylen Warren off of the struggling Beans. And I think Hollywood Brown has good upside. I think he's going to be a great slot to a team that's struggling for wide receivers right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got to talk about a free waiver wire pickup this year. Sam Laporta is your tight end 2 on the year and does not show any signs of slowing down.
Right.
So these are the things you need to do, and this is what Huey expected he needed to do this year with the draft. He knew he had a quirky draft, we'll call it. But so far, he's passing with flying colors on in-season management for an overall grade of B-.
B-.
So
nice.
Huey slips into the Bs.
What a great comeback of sorts, if you want to talk about that, for Huey Lewis in the News after a tough draft.
Mm-hmm. Moving on, last 2 teams. We got Born to Run. Drafts, I'm giving them a D+. I think it looked really great in that first game of the season. Even leading up to it, I thought Born to Run had a great draft, but then we look at it. Calvin Ridley is your wide receiver 33 on the year, drafted in the 3rd round. Brandon Cooks is your wide receiver 99 on the year, drafted the 9th round, where there's still some good guys available. Amari Cooper is also tied for your wide receiver 33, drafted in the 4th round. Kyle Pitts is the tight end 27 out of, well, I will say, probably 30 serviceable tight ends of the league. 8th round for Kyle Pitts. And then Chris Godwin, drafted in the 5th round, is also tied for the wide receiver 33. So Born to Run spent their 3rd, 4th, and 5th round picks on guys who are all tied as the 33rd best wide receiver in the league. So it's a D plus on the draft. If we look at the in-season management, it doesn't get much better. We're looking at a C minus. That Trevor Lawrence and Pollard for Waddle and Prescott trade, I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, I thought that I thought they might weigh in on that, but the drinks at the beach bar must be too strong tonight.
Yep. Waddle hasn't done great. Waddle definitely has upside. That Dolphins team is good. Yes. But Tony Pollard's a serviceable guy on a team that's going to be running the ball a lot this year.
Let's take a break on the Gort Report. Tom, that trade, tell me your thoughts on that trade. Essentially, to me, the quarterbacks are a wash, although I think Trevor Lawrence has more upside. So you're left with Waddle versus Pollard. Who got fleeced in this deal?
Yeah, it was funny. What was it, Monday night? Ty texted that he was about to make a deal that was going to light the league on fire, quote unquote. And right when I saw it, it was a little questionable from Born to Run side. I mean, yeah, I agree. The quarterbacks are definitely a wash, and I just feel like Waddle, I think he's only averaging probably 10 points a game so far. It just hasn't been great. I feel like Pollard still had a lot higher ceiling. So interesting trade, but I'd like to hear the other side of it, of what was behind it. So
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how it works out.
I think we might have to wait till next week to get any sort of insight on that trade. Yeah. So, Jordan, please continue. Thank you.
So, just one last point on Born to Run. They spent $21 a fob on C.J. Stroud, who I think is a good quarterback. He's performing good.
Yep.
He hasn't seen a starting lineup.
That's true. It's tough when you spend your money, and I think they probably, because they've been talking in the last few weeks about the disappointment of Trevor Lawrence's performance. Born to Run, as did I, thought that Trevor Lawrence was going to have a real breakout year, and it just hasn't materialized. It's not Joe Burrow bad, but it just hasn't materialized, and so I think he was still kind of playing the waiting game. What happens with Stroud and Prescott in that lineup, I don't know.
Yeah, currently Prescott's in, but I think we're gonna have to see Stroud in.
Stroud's
if we're looking for
strong.
upside.
Yep.
So it's a overall C minus for Born to Run.
C minus on Born to Run. Now Born to Run has given out some grades on this show, and
he's not gonna like his.
Not gonna be happy with this C minus that we get on the screen. All right.
Last team we got here, no lineup needed. For the draft, they're getting a C. Patrick Mahomes is a QB 10 on the year. He's drafted in the 3rd round. That's early to take a quarterback that's not going to be in the top 5. The same way I feel about Jalen Hurts on the Beans. CeeDee Lamb, taken in the 2nd round, is your 15th best wide receiver on the year. We'll look at some positive signs. Michael Pittman is your wide receiver 19 on the year. You got him all the way in the 8th round. That's pretty good.
That is good.
DJ Moore is your wide receiver 12 on the year, gotten in the 6th round. So there's some bright spots, which is why we're going to stick with an average grade on the draft at a C. And then in-season management, C minus. We haven't seen how it's fully going to play out, but there's not much more that's going to happen in the land of no lineup needed, as $150 worth of fob was spent on Jerome Ford, who has been performing, but there's guys like Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua that have been taken off waivers in this league.
Yeah, I know the Rifle likely bid $62 on their last pickup just to go $1 lower than Connor's $63. But you're just that $150 for Jerome Ford is going to be the talk of the season. There's no doubt.
So that's an overall grade of a C for no lineup needed, and that is the Gort Report.
Gort Report. We're going to get the final grade up there. See that I liked that. We've done certainly Walt has done grades, but he hasn't done it in as classy a studio as you found the time to jump into. So we're gonna try to get back to normal here, and let's jump in. Whoops, hold on, we don't want to do that. Hold on. If you can just stay in that studio for one moment, and yeah, there we go. We're going to magically teleport
Oh, that's my
back
Barf?
into normal Barf Studio. Here we go. I like it. And so that we talked about week 1, and we had our edition of the Gort Report. Your grades are what they are, people. Do your best to improve them. Now let's talk about week 5 NFL action, week 5 Barf action. Jordan, what's the first game you want to talk about?
This is my account, so we got Springfield Rifle at Soarin Eagles right up at the top.
The Rifle and the Eagles. Let me just switch the graphic. Tom, since we have one of the involved participants in the studio, I'm going to go to you first. Between the Rifle and the Eagles, who takes it this week?
Off the top of my head, I got to say the Soarin Eagles. I mean, if Josh Allen has another huge week again, I know he's projected looks like 24. Jacksonville's D isn't that great. And then you got Tyreek on the other side of the ball, who is another chance to put up 40 points. So, I mean, those two guys right there. And then hopefully we'll see what Henry does. Henry hasn't been great. Obviously went off last week. But right now, I think I got to give this one to the Soarin Eagles.
All right, Jordan, do you agree with Tom?
Yeah, I like my matchups this week. I got options at quarterback. I got Josh Allen versus Jacksonville. I got Tua versus the Giants. That's not to say that the Rifle doesn't have good matchups, but we are looking at he's got Debo versus Dallas. The Patriots are playing New Orleans, which Tom will disagree, but I don't think that's going to be an easy day for the Pats.
There are no easy days for the Pats right now.
That's true. So, I like my team this week. I still got all my guys in. I haven't had to deal with too much bye week trouble. And I think I got a good shot at this one.
All right, the projections show Soarin Eagles blowing up for a high score, 126 to 117 over the Rifle at this point. We'll see if that pans out. Where are we going next?
All right, the next game we got on our list is in-house Whopper Moppers versus Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah, I like this game. Right now, the projections have it 121 to 108. The lineups aren't set yet. Tom, I'll start with you again. An awful lot of check marks on your side of the ball. How do you see this game going this week?
I think this one's going to be an interesting one. I got a lot of tough matchups. I think it's going to come down to, Kirk's up against Kansas's offense. I got to hopefully that's a shootout. It's a good thing about if you play Kansas City. I feel like you're always playing from behind. He's throwing the ball a lot. Hopefully ETN can get going a little bit, and then you got Madison, and then I think it's going to come down to Diggs and AJ Brown, see what they can do. But on the other side of the ball, I think he has some pretty decent matchups, so I think it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, I agree, Jordan. Do you think that this projection is a little off? Does Huey pull some magic out this week?
There's one reason why the projection's off, and that is because Jonathan Taylor and Cooper Kupp are both looking like they might play football this weekend. Sean McVay came out and said, I forget the word he used, but basically said he feels like he's being silly, saying that Cooper Kupp was limited in practice because Cooper Kupp practiced in full today.
Oh, boy.
Projected for 17 points by ESPN.
Wow. So, with that being said, how does that change the landscape of things? Like, is Puka Nacua, I think we talked about this already, does that automatically put Puka Nacua on the back burner?
I do not put it past Huey to start Puka and Cooper Kupp, and I also don't put it past Puka and Cooper Kupp to both have good weeks. And that's not saying, I still have Tom. I still give the edge to Tom here, because I don't believe in Breece Hall this year. Anthony Richardson versus Tennessee is a really bad matchup for him. We'll see what Marquise Brown will do. Laporte is playing Carolina, and they haven't, been in shootouts this year. And then Detroit's defense is a little better than usual, so that might be a low-scoring game. I think besides Kupp coming back, I think Huey's looking at a tough week, and I think Tom's looking at a victory.
Yeah, I think if we revisit the Gort Report in a month, the addition of Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor could completely transform this team. Tom, agree or disagree?
I agree. I think Jonathan Taylor coming back, who knows how he's going to be, but I think he should be solid. And then it'll be interesting to see if he starts Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. But I think Huey's in a solid spot. After the draft, I was questioning it, but he's made a lot of good moves, so I think he's in a good spot being 2-2.
He's 2-2, and these players that he drafted Jonathan Taylor, who at the time he didn't have a contract, like he wasn't doing anything, and now this could be paying off coming into week 5. We'll see. Where are we going now?
Looking at the pant loads versus worst team ever. The battle of the I'm not lucky is what we're going to call this one.
One of my favorite Civil War games, always Saudi pant loads versus worst team ever. I think I just launched teams here. Sorry, people. No, I can't get rid of this. Get off my screen. So worst team ever right now.
Hit escape.
Thanks. 130 to 117. Projected to win. When we look at the check marks, it looks kind of even. It's just you kind of want the check marks where worst team ever has them. Jordan, what do you think about this game?
Is Jonathan Taylor motivated, or is Jonathan Taylor playing? That's the difference. Is Jonathan Taylor looking to light the world on fire and get a good contract next year, and Zach Moss is going to be relegated to the sidelines? Or is Jonathan Taylor going to come out, put out, 6 carries for 12 yards, and Zach Moss gets, maybe 8 or 9 carries, some catches, has a chance to put up a good week. But if Jonathan Taylor comes in motivated and he starts lighting the world on fire, Sody Pantlows are looking at a potential 0 this week and in the future on Zach Moss.
And there's not a lot of hope, as I recall, down on the bench for the running back position for Sody Pantloads. Let's see. Who would they plug in if Zach Moss was having trouble? They would.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a running back problem if
he does.
If Jonathan Taylor decides to play and he wants to sit Zach Moss.
Yeah, Cam Akers, AJ Dillon. It's not good.
Yeah, not at all.
Just not good. He's got some bye week issues this week with Metcalf and Rashad White, although I'm not a big Rashad White fan. I know that Sody disagrees, and so it looks like worst team ever should Coos is weighing in. Don't play Alan. Shake my head. It looks like worst team ever. In my opinion, this should be a walkover this week. This is why it's exciting to me, because you can't count out Sody.
Nope.
So I think this one comes down to the wire. I think this is a late night. There's going to be a play or a penalty that decides this one, and someone is going to be ecstatic and someone's going to lose their mind, and I hope we hear all about it next week. Where are we going now?
We got no lineup needed versus Born to Run. Two teams that got tough grades in the Gort Report.
They were treated rough by the Gort Report, and they are sitting at 1-3 after 4 games. Right now, no lineup is projected to go 114-100 in a victory over Born to Run. Born to Run looks like they have some possible lineup moves to make after their big trade, although I see Dak is still in there. Dak and Waddle are in there now. So the question of this game, does this trade swing it and make Born to Run more competitive than the projections show?
I love Jalen Waddle. I think Jalen Waddle's a great football player, but he just hasn't shown it this year. And it's, you play the game in fantasy football based on what a guy can do, but you got to see him do it first before you can really trust him. So I'm not trusting Jalen Waddle. I don't trust Prescott, especially against San Francisco. That's going to be a low-scoring game. He's got his defense is on a bye week. Not that they did great last week, but he's going to have to plug someone in there. Ridley's playing a tough Buffalo defense that just held the Dolphins to 20 points. Right. So it's looking like a tough week for Born to Run, and I think Christian on no lineup needed's got some decent matchups on his side.
Yep. Tommy, what do you think about this game this week? Does no lineup win as the projections say?
Yeah, I think no lineup needed takes this one. Born to Run, I think, is in rough shape this week. He's got a handful of buys, a couple tough matchups, but both teams being 1-3. I don't want to say it's an absolute must-win, but being 2-3 and 1-4 is a lot different. So I think this is a big one for both teams. But gun to my head, no lineup needed takes it.
I agree. I will just say the matchup of Dak Prescott versus that San Francisco defense probably ruins the week for Born to Run. And 1-4 would be, that's a tough. I know this from experience. That is a tough hill to climb. So one of these teams is going to be 2-3. One of them is going to be 1-4. We'll see. Interesting to watch for this coming up week. What does that leave us with?
We got Knuckleheads at the Beans.
Knuckleheads and Beans. This is going to be a fun game for someone that wins. Right now, the Beans are projected to walk over the Knuckleheads 115 to 103, but that's because we don't have a quarterback in. We'll see how it goes. Right now, the green check marks are spread around pretty evenly. Tommy, I'll start with you. Boston Beans versus Knuckleheads. Who's going to win this week?
Oh, this is going to be a close one. I mean, obviously your projections right now without Herbert, so decides who you throw in at QB. McCaffrey's got a tough matchup against Dallas, real tough matchup, but I'm sure he'll still be good for 20 points. Right. But I think this one's going to come down to what is Najee Harris, and does he get 2 points or like 15 points? And then Baltimore. Adams has a decent matchup against Green Bay, so I think this one's going to be a real close one, but top of my head, probably Knuckleheads by a couple points.
Couple points, I'll take it. Jordan, who wins this game?
I got Knuckleheads in this one. Tony, I'd like to highlight, look at his bench, look at his starting lineup. He's got Najee Harrison, and he's got Jalen Warren on his bench, who he just traded for. As I talked about earlier, we always say having these tough lineup decisions is like a blessing in disguise. You know what I mean? It means that your team's strong, but, what are you going to do? You're wasting 2 roster spots on a position on a team that you can only start one of them. You're never going to put Jalen Warren and Najee Harris in that lineup together.
It's true, and Warren's projected to go 11, and Najee's got a 10 this week. So maybe the Beans are busy. They're making the mac and cheese. Coos is saying it's they're making the mac and cheese. Maybe after that, they're going to take a look at the lineup situation and say, hey, perhaps I might not be starting Najee this week. But
he really loves Najee. He
does.
In there. I talked him out of it last week to throw in Zeke, which he did, and obviously didn't work out. But
he's Najee.
Impressive. So that's our next week of BARFF scores. Let's look at the standings before we say goodnight. Very little separation. We had those undefeated teams lose, and so now you've got worst team ever opponent at 3-1, tied with Whopper Moppers, and then you've got this terrible glut of 2-2. Rifle, Soarin Eagles, Knuckleheads, Pantloads, Boston Beans, Huey Lewis and the News, all pulling in at 2-2. Teams need some separation, and as we stated, the teams down the bottom, born to run and no lineup needed. Of all the weeks to play each other, this is probably the worst time. They would have loved to have played somebody else, because one of them is going to end up at 1-4, and we said last week it's not time to panic. I think if you're 1-4, it's panic time. I've got the nuclear bomb graphic queued up and ready to go. We're not using it yet, but 1-4 is hard to overcome. So separation this week, really important for teams. The teams at the top, worst team ever in Whopper Moppers, really looking strong in terms of playoff hopes. But just everyone's in the mix right now.
I'd love to point out in the standings, if you take a look at it, nobody can claim that they're playing hard defense this year. Standings are perfectly in order of points for. So the standings are reflective of how these teams have been doing.
That is perfect. I did not notice that. That's pretty impressive. Christian's having a tough time with points against, but he's just not scoring. You're not going to win. Yep. I know that feeling, having lowest points for, most points against. It's pretty powerless feeling. But we'll see what the separation is. These are over the next 4 weeks, we're going to start to see who's going to start jockeying for playoff position and who's going to start desperate dealings and other attempts to get better. And so that is it, Tom. It was great hearing from you. Love to have the input on the pod, and that's it for the week. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for having me, guys. Always a pleasure.
All right, Jordan. Thanks for the Gort Report. That was very well done, very prepared. I think that my hope is that you lit a fire under some teams, and that people go out and they're going to go and take that extra couple bucks out of the fob and throw it into that player that they need this week.
It's getting to be time.
It definitely is time, no doubt. That's the show for the week. All right. Thanks again, guys. Everyone start setting your lineups. There's no early morning games or anything like that this week. Pretty straightforward. Good luck to all.